Hey, welcome to another video on the Freeze Dry Business channel where we're connecting the freeze dry business community with the tools and resources needed to grow a sustainable business. Now today we're going to try the Candy Lemonheads. And I tried this before, didn't really work out that well, so I'm going to try it again. If you have the 5.0 software on Harvest Right or higher, you can activate Candy mode. All it really is changing the total dry temperature as well as the duration of the drying time. Now with Candy mode, you can upgrade the temperature all the way up to 150 degrees. You can also warm the trays at 20 minutes max. That's what I'm going to do with these Lemonheads, because as I've researched on different Facebook forums and seen people who have done it well and been successful with the Lemonheads, most people have done it on a cottage food level where they've been at home and they put the Lemonheads in the oven. Now you might be asking yourself, what the heck, an oven? And the purpose behind putting it in the oven is that certain candies have that hard shell on it. Peppermints, Red Hots, Lemonheads, all of those types of candies have a hard shell. What you're trying to do with these new hard shell candies is you're trying to soften up that shell so that you basically can have the freeze dryer pop what's inside. And so that's what we're going to try to accomplish. Now the oven obviously can be changed to different temperatures above 150 degrees. Not with the freeze dryer. I've got this large Harvest Right freeze dryer and you only have a max of 150 degrees. So what we're going to do today is, because my commercial kitchen doesn't have an oven, I am going to test out the highest temperature on the Harvest Right freeze dryer to make sure that we can do that just with the freeze dryer alone instead of having to use an oven to warm those hard candies. If you have a cottage food operation and you are running your business from home, you've got access to an oven, you can adjust those temperatures above 150 degrees. But for somebody like me and other people who have that commercial kitchen, or if you don't have one at home, you don't have access to an oven to warm it above 150, this video is going to also be for you to kind of test it out. All right, so let's get the freeze dryer settings set up. Now, what I've read is that you need to set it to the highest temperature that it possibly is able to on the freeze dryer. So we're going to make sure that the dry mode is in fast, and then we need to set the temperature to as high as it goes. So the highest temperature you can go with this version 5.1 or higher on the software for Harvest Right is 150 degrees. Now what we're going to do as well is I'm going to add some extra dry time. I am going to keep it at 5 hours, which I normally do for fruit. So we're going to press save. Now we're going to start this. So one thing I don't really understand about the Harvest Right software when you have it with Candy mode is Candy mode is activated when you go above 130 degrees on the temperature setting like we just did. And if it's in Candy mode, I don't really understand why it says that we need to cool the chamber. And so you have to wait that 15 minutes for the chamber to cool, and then you can basically start warming the trays or start the Candy mode and start the drying process immediately. So that's kind of my only thing with the software, is I don't really understand the cooling part, but needless to say, we'll get this all warmed up for 15 minutes and then we'll press start and get the Lemonheads in there. All right, so for the Lemonheads, what I've got is I've got the mini Lemonheads in these boxes, and I'm just gonna see what happens for the smaller ones, but I've also got the big size Lemonheads, and I did this before in a short earlier this year, and it didn't really turn out that well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do one tray of the large, just a couple, few, or maybe a couple dozen, and then we're gonna do a couple of these boxes, and we're gonna see what happens in the freeze dryer. All right, next I'm gonna do 2 of the Lemonhead boxes, and let's see what the difference is in terms of whether they pop when you put 2 boxes on the tray. Maybe actually looking at this right now, let's maybe do a 3rd box, because I've got 5 of them. So let's go ahead and put these Lemonheads. And now let's go ahead and do, I don't know, a couple of the Lemonheads that are much larger. Let's do 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, let's just do 25 of the large Lemonheads. And I'm really excited to try the Lemonheads because I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook pages and things like that, and even on Etsy, that it's becoming really popular to do. And I think that it could be a great addition to your lineup. Now, part of what you need to consider when you're doing a freeze dry business is how many kind of SKU numbers you're going to be adding to your business. Now, the SKU numbers, I'm just saying that in terms of like putting a barcode on, but what I just mean by that is how many products are you going to be willing to do if someone orders one bag? Or how many are you going to put if you're going to go to a show? You know, how many different types of bags do you really want to be bringing? Different types, because that's a lot of different places that you need to store. It's a lot of different runs of candy that you have to do in the freeze dryer. Some of it's going to be really popular, some of it's going to have to store for a while. So you're going to have to really kind of decide, you know, how many actual products you need to do. So now, for the purposes of this video, I'm really just doing this just to show for the video. I want to test these out because I've done it before and it just didn't really work. So, and you know what, just for kicks, let's do some Skittles at what we're gonna do for the settings for these Lemonheads. So let's go ahead and do Skittles on one tray. And what we're gonna do with the Skittles is I'm curious to see what warming the temperature up to 150 degrees as well as running the 150 degree temp in the freeze dryer at 150 degrees for 5 hours, how different it's gonna change the texture of these freeze-dried Skittles. So I'm excited to kind of see that. So we'll put this at the top of the trays in a large freeze dryer. Hey, a quick plug for the rest of my videos. If you haven't done it already or you're not a subscriber, go to my channel and view a couple of my other videos. I've got a lot of great information about freeze drying fruit to ice cream sandwiches, and other types of candies. I've also recently done a ROI video with some calculations of what the ROI is for taffy and candy for a freeze dryer, and why freeze drying as a business is so popular right now. So check that out. Also hit the like button or comment below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, the freeze dryer settings are set. Again, what we set it to was 150 degrees for warming for 20 minutes. And then we're going to run the freeze dryer for 5 hours at 150 degrees. And we're gonna see what happens to the Lemonheads, both the small and the large size. Now, again, on these trays that we did on the freeze dryer, we had one box of the small Lemonheads. The second tray was 3 boxes of the small Lemonheads, and then we put on about 35 large Lemonheads, and then for fun, we just did the Skittles on the last tray up there, and we're gonna see what happens to those Skittles at 150 degrees. So I'm excited to find out. We'll see you on the flip side once we get this freeze dryer cycle done. See ya. All right, the cycle is done. We ran the machine for 5 hours, and we had the temperature set at 150 degrees while also warming the trays at 150 degrees for that 20-minute period. So let's go ahead and check out the freeze dryer. Let's see what happened. Hey, a common question that I get asked about freeze drying candy is sometimes you might notice that when you release the drain valve, you'll notice that the candy sometimes deflates. Not everything, but sometimes it does. And I learned the hard way about that, and sometimes I'd have to rerun the candy. Well, don't do that anymore, because I've got a special tip for you. Let the candy settle, let it go down to about 100 degrees or less. I know that's a little bit more wait time in changing out the different candy cycles, but believe me, you won't have that type of error in letting those candies deflate, and so that's my tip for you. All right, here's the Skittles. Wow, they puffed up a ton. Take a look at that. At 150 degrees for 5 hours, wow, they completely puffed. I don't even think that these would be really worth even packaging, just because they might be so fragile. Well, the good part about being a freeze-dried business owner and freeze-drying candy is you get to do the taste testing to see if it's dry, also just if it's good. So let's go ahead and give it a taste test with the Skittles at 150 degrees. Let's do 2 of these. I've got this yellow one super puffed up. Wow, at that 150 degree temp, these Skittles are a lot more airy and a lot more crunchy. That sugary stuff right there, that dissolves more quickly than the temp that I usually do Skittles at, which is at 140 degrees. So definitely clumped up a lot more. I don't really like that because, as you can see, it's super clumped up. It's gonna be hard to get it in individual bite-sized pieces, so wouldn't recommend the 150 degrees. Let's take a look at the Lemonheads. All right, here are the Lemonheads. Let's go ahead and take these out and put them on the counter. All right, as you can see with these Lemonheads, for 1 box of the Tinies, some of them popped, some of them did not. So I'm gonna kind of say probably that you probably have to warm them up at a warmer temperature, or maybe I should warm them up even longer, which we can't really in the Harvest Right. I do know that this is kind of what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to pop open the shell from that yellow, and then it's supposed to be crunchy. Let's do a quick taste test. Okay. That one was a little bit still crunchy on the shell. Woo. That's sour still. I'm gonna try one more. This one seems like it's popped up a little bit more. Yeah. Definitely crunchy. Ooh. This is why I don't really prefer Lemonheads. I'm just not a sour person, so. Well, that was the first tray. Let's go ahead and take in another one. And this tray actually popped a lot of the tiny Lemonheads. I really like what I'm seeing here. This is 3 boxes. And again, this one was on the second shelf of the large freeze dryer. What I'd have said in the past in other videos is I've noticed that when you do the Jolly Ranchers, the bottom tray and the top tray tend to not pop as much. And I think that's the case with these Lemonheads as well. So this second shelf definitely looks like it got better in that aspect. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the large Lemonheads, and let's put them out here so we can see them better. All right, so these were the larger Lemonheads, and as you can see, some of these actually puffed up quite a bit. I really like this one. I definitely think that this is crunchy. Let's choose that one to taste test. And then as you can see, like this one didn't really pop as much, and so I'm kind of curious whether these did what they were supposed to. So let's do a taste test. All right, let's go ahead and give the large Lemonhead a taste test and see how it goes. Wow, still has some lemon kick, not as much as those tiny Lemonheads, but it definitely is much more airy, a lot more crunchy, and I think this is what you're aiming for. All right, so we did some taste tests. We kind of looked to see what they looked like visually in terms of those Lemonheads. Now, I've seen different pictures, and I definitely have seen that some of these have popped the way other people have gotten them to work. That second tray that we had with 3 different boxes of the tiny Lemonheads, I'm looking at it right down here, and all of them pretty much popped. I think I could probably sell that batch. The large Lemonheads also pretty much all popped. I think what you're looking for to sell Lemonheads is you're really just kind of selling a different type of texture, just something new for people to try. Well, obviously you can't taste test every single one before you sell it, so I think this is going to be more of a visual check for anyone trying to do Lemonheads. All right, so did the Lemonheads work? I'm going to give them 2 thumbs up. I do think that warming the trays at 150 degrees for that 20-minute period, which was the max we could do under this software, and also freeze drying it at about 5 hours did accomplish what we were looking for based on what I've seen other people do with Lemonheads. So I definitely would bag this and sell it. And if I had different kind of experiences from different customers taste testing and they're like, this doesn't actually have a crunch, it's still hard, maybe I need to dry longer. But overall, I would say the Lemonheads is a success, going at 150 degrees on the temp and 150 degrees at warming the trays for 20 minutes. Hey, one thing to note about the Lemonheads, what I did with my machine in my commercial kitchen, is I didn't want to use the oven, which I know a lot of people do to do the Lemonheads and other hard candies, because you're just trying to get the outer shell to soften up enough to where when you run the freeze dryer at that high temp and the vacuum, it pops. Now, because I'm in a commercial kitchen, I wanted to see what the machine could do, because sometimes your commercial kitchen doesn't have an oven like mine. I'm renting this commercial kitchen and I don't have an oven. So I wanted to see whether the machine could do it at 150 degrees as well as warming the trays up for that 20-minute period at the highest temp possible. So I would sell these Lemonheads. I definitely think it accomplished what I was looking for. And so if you don't have an oven, I definitely think you could put it into the freeze dryer. Well, thanks for watching how to freeze dry Lemonheads. I hope this was helpful and just gave you inspiration to try new things. Hey, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button or subscribe to my channel. I'd love for you to be connected to this freeze drying business community that I'm trying to grow, as well as go and check out my other videos that I've got on my channel. I've got everything from how to freeze dry fruit, ice cream sandwiches, different types of candies, as well as tips and tricks for freeze drying as a business. Now go out and make a difference in your community using your freeze dry business. And until next time, this is David with the Freeze Dry Business Channel. Take care. We'll see you next time.